Indy 11 and Nashville SC, newcomers boasting two of the USL's most staunch defenses and gripping onto playoff positions. Tonight, two of the best in the East meet in Music City, and with the difference between save and celebration, 3 points or none, is so razor thin it could all come down to just one shot. Welcome to the USL Game of the Week on ESPN News. You look at First Tennessee Park in Nashville, Tennessee. Plenty of thrills early in the season, their expansion season. It's Nashville SC taking on Indy 11. A look at the Eastern Conference standings. And for Indy 11, a chance to get up to 24 points. That would put them in fourth. For Nashville SC, a win today puts them 4 points back of FC Cincinnati and into second place in the USL's Eastern Conference. Hello, everybody, and welcome. Glad to have you with us. Devin Kerr alongside Mike Watts with you. And right now, you would say neither of these teams are mirages. They look like playoff teams right now.
It's been interesting from both so far, Mike, but I'll tell you what, for Martin Reddy and Indy 11, they've gotten back on track. It was a rough month of May, but look at wins versus Atlanta United 2, as well as Toronto FC 2, but it's got to be better. It's a far cry from the last time we saw them take down Nashville. Nashville, on the other hand, a well-oiled machine. 4-0-4, 8-game unbeaten streak. They actually had it at 11, faltered a little bit in the U.S. Open Cup. But the reason they've been able to get that done, you see it undefeated at home this season. The camaraderie, the chemistry, everything is firing for these guys on all cylinders, and you've seen it in every performance versus some big-time opponents.
Nashville has made some changes to their roster of late, and they feel like they're playing their best football despite falling in the U.S. Open Cup to Louisville City FC last time out. On the other side, Indy, the boondoggle that was May, is in the rearview mirror, and they're playing their best football now.
The good stuff is the back line has become great. Ayoze, Carr-Wimet, Mitchell, Venegas, they've been phenomenal. But unfortunately, going forward, goals have been a little hard to come by. We referenced the games recently, and that's amazing. But going forward, they've got a really difficult schedule. If they want to make their mark in the Eastern Conference, now's the time to make your mark.
Certainly starts tonight. For Brandon Allen, he's made his mark over a long series of years, and for Nashville, it's a big mid-season addition.
We all remember him at New York Red Bull 2 and the rookie campaign that he had, absolutely phenomenal. Transitioning over to Bethlehem Steel, you know what, just not necessarily the best fit there, but I'll tell you what, he's made his way into Nashville. He's made an effect in full force right away, and he's really pulled off some of the pressure from the other guys up top.
You will see Allen. You will not see Suni Saad, a late scratch. We heard he'd be in the lineup on Friday. It's not the case.
The ridiculous strikes that we've become accustomed to that Suni Saad brings each and every game, not going to be here this evening. And oh, by the way, when he struck those times versus Nashville, that's the last time Nashville lost a game. So a little bit of an ace in the pocket for Matt Pickett's and the boys, but I'll tell you what, they're still going to have their hands full with Jack McInerney and co.
Giant game tonight. Whether you're a regular World Cup watcher, your name's Bridget Marie, and you've never seen a soccer match before in your life. Nashville, 4 wins in their 4 games at First Tennessee Park. Will it continue tonight against an Indy 11 team with 1 loss in their 6 games on the road? Big game ahead. USL Game of the Week next. See what I did there? Shouted out my niece. Yeah,
Good.
Thank you.
All right, cool. Abe, good, buddy? All right.
No, I knew where we were going.
I heard you, too.
Hey, I hear myself twice.
Yeah, so do I. It's reverberating heavily. Yep.
1, 2, 3.
Yep, we're good. 1, 2, 3. Cheers.
Is Bobby the fix? Bobby's here. He's the fix. So this one's done, and boondoggle is done. Martin first. Do you want to comment on either coach, or do you just want to roll?
It's up to you. If you feel you want to get in, we can talk about that.
Rennie first and then Gary. So do you want to talk about Gary? Because we'll have more room there.
That's fine, yeah. And just kind of see where it goes.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Is there anything you want to hit on with him?
You know what, to be honest, maybe we just go one on each, because I really kind of was hoping to push a conversation with him somewhere in the middle of the game. I really liked his talking about family and how outside of his first experience at Wimbledon, this is like his second favorite, remember?
Yeah.
And he said, like, what a
I
great...
wouldn't even say that. It's just like this is that occurring
Comparable.
again. Yeah. 'Cause I didn't, I wouldn't want to make it seem like he has another...
Darker.
Okay, 292 days between announcement and first practice. That's what I'm going with. That's a good stat, right?
Yeah.
It's handy. Back on ESPN News, the United Soccer League Game of the Week, the first of 6 linear games on ESPN networks over the next 7 weeks, all culminating on August the 8th in St. Pete for the Tampa Bay Rowdies. Alongside Devin Kerr, Mike Watts with you. We take a look how these teams line up for Nashville. They do make 2 changes. Brandon Allen into the starting lineup. Ryan James steps in for Justin Davis.
And the fluidity of this formation you're going to see over the course of the evening is going to be very interesting. A lot of shape shifting. That gives them the opportunity defensively to get stuff done. Keep an eye in the middle. Bolu Akinyode, that is the man who pulls all the strings, almost 90% passing accuracy. He's the guy who's going to get it done in the middle of the park tonight.
Nashville 8 unbeaten in USL. On the other side, 3 unbeaten for Indy 11. They make a change. Jack McInerney is back. A 2-game suspension, 1 for yellow card accumulation, 1 later added by the disciplinary council. No Suni Saad. That's the surprise.
That's the key factor, and that's why we talked him out of at the beginning of the broadcast, even though he's not in the starting lineup. Such an impactful figure. But number 17, Justin Braun, in form as of late. Jack McInerney has played a very supporting role so far. He's got to get more heavily involved in the stat sheet.
Martin Rennie, a Scotland native, always a chipper guy to talk to on the phone, took over this team right at the beginning of preseason, built this roster, and has gotten off to one of the better starts in Indy 11 history. He goes up against a guy who calls Martin a friend, Gary Smith, who took over Nashville 292 days before the first Nashville SC practice. And Gary Smith, a guy that's just an interesting guy to talk with about philosophy and the organization that he's playing in. He's done a great job with Nashville at the outset.
It was interesting to hear him compare this situation to other environments that he's been in, both in Major League Soccer as well as overseas. I loved the reference that he gave about one of his first coaching experiences at Wimbledon in England, and he talked about what a family environment it was and how that's really carried over, and it resonates into his option and experience here at Nashville. He says it's a great area for him to live in. His family loves it, his friends love it, and everything in the organization is a thoughtful process from top to bottom. He says it really is a true family atmosphere and environment.
Indy 11 in white. It's the blue for Nashville SC. The summer of soccer in Nashville continues with the USL Game of the Week on ESPN News. 2 Eastern Conference teams in playoff position as we're underway on the night. Glad to have you aboard with us. Devin Kerr alongside Mike Watts with you as it comes to Matt Watson. 11 team that's finally really catching their breath after a strugglesome May where they got some good results. Ultimately, we're just missing so many pieces as Guerra drops it back.
That was the biggest issue that Rennie said to us. He said that it's been so frustrating because he talked about the month of May, and he was still quite happy with some of their performances, able to go out and notch some ties up here and there, both at home and on the road. But he said the difficulty of putting together a consistent lineup has been so difficult as of late. He said you've really seen it in the past 2 or 3 games. We're seeing a very similar lineup here this evening, so game number 4, hoping the result could be that of the same of the past 3.
Midfield Akinyode. Now Michael Reed, who captained San Antonio last year. Woodbury making his 4th start of the season. Running on the inside of LaGrassa, getting the cross in. A slide down, it's still alive. Touched away by Mitchell. rush away from Brandon Allen. Gary Smith was pretty blunt about it. Ultimately, this game could come down to one or two chances, McInerney or Allen, who puts a goal away. These two, the best defensive teams in the USL this year.
It's been very difficult to come up goals with both squads, but to be fair, you look on Nashville's side of the ball, and you could argue that both have one of the best defensive in the conference and in the league, but Nashville is above and beyond. I mean, they are absolutely amazing. Figure with Gary Smith and Bob Lilly, the two of them, to be in a room with those teleprompters breaking the game down, absolutely amazing.
Home opened the barn door. Bounces away from Braun. Gary Smith in concert with the ownership group and Mike Jacobs building this Nashville Soccer Club side. He's headed to MLS in a couple of years. USL continuing to breed professional soccer. This Wednesday night, they expect he had another big crowd. Reed going down here.
Just a late tackle. Come in on the outside. Moses just slow a little bit. Some early game jitters. Fortunately, everybody gets the best of them first 5-10 minutes, trying to settle in and figure out exactly which way you want to go. A little bit heavy on the tackle, but something that'll keep in the back of his mind moving on. I'm sure the referee will.
Ball runs too far for Iozzi. And there's Matt Pickens, the general. The beard's a bit shorter than usual, but 4 years with the Rowdies. He was playing under Gary Smith, along with Kosuke Kimura in Colorado when they won both MLS Cup and the US Open Cup. Jome. In press and signing at the end of May. Jome trying to cut that across, and well, this will come back.
Could see the one-on-one capability from Jome. Gary Smith telling us that that's why they brought him in. They love the speed that he brings on the side, the ability to get up and down the pitch, but his opportunities that he brings just from that 1v1 matchup. Carlisle Mitchell actually sticking his hand up right at the end of the play, letting the referee know that he had already made his own decision.
I was getting a little nervous.
Thrown out by a friend of mine on 90th minute. Was young, with 14, 15 years old. Just one of my arch nemesis, and ball gets swung into the middle. Stick both hands up in the air, catches the ball, drops it. Lose 1-0 on a PK in the 90th minute. Never forgot about that one.
I'm sure he had a really altruistic motive. It just didn't show.
I'd say his name, but he'd probably be pretty mad at me.
He actually brought Carlisle Mitchell over from Korea at his last stop. Played under him in Vancouver as well. This will bounce over McInerney. Braun giving chase. And turned over to the foot of LaGrassa by Matern. Jome. Bit behind. And Watson carries away. McInerney holding up play. Jose. All comes back to Owain Fawn Williams. In his first season in the States, longtime Welsh goalkeeper, the perennial unused sub for the Welsh national team over a stretch of over half a decade. Kicked ahead by Reed. Watson. Back to Garrett. Watson overcooked it. LaGrassa, one of the most explosive passers in the league last year, being expansion side Reno 1868 to a record-setting offensive output. One of the top signings of USL vets, this Nashville side over the offseason.
It's amazing what Ian Russell has been able to do there and kind of retool a little bit, losing a lot of key components, heading in different directions.
Dane Kelly
departing, obviously getting his opportunity. And they started off the season. You and I had quite a few conversations, Mike. We talked about whether or not something over there is headed in the wrong direction. We just kind of kept looking at each other result after result, and now we sit here 12 games later and sitting on that amazing streak as they slowly made their way up the Western Conference. They've been very fun to watch.
Big collision. Vegas ultimately committed a foul. Takes a lot to knock Joam down. By Fawn Williams. What's interesting to see in the early going is just how far Nashville wants to try and press this Indy 11 group, one that when you watch film you seem to think struggle a bit with the high press.
Actually chatted with Martin Rennie about it and brought that up specifically. I said, do you think you guys have trouble playing against the press? He was very bluntly gave me an answer that said no, but to be honest, if you look at their results versus teams that have employed it against them, they've struggled, to say the least. You track back through everything, you go versus Charleston Battery and Anheuser. They ended up getting a 3-3 tie in that situation. Obviously some late goals involved in that match, but still struggled with it nonetheless. They employ that each and every match. Go back a little further, New York Red Bull 2, a 4-1 drubbing, which it was prevalent all over the pitch, and you know exactly what's going to go on with Red Bull 2. They're going to play that high press and throw a million numbers at you. And then Brendan Burke and Bethlehem Steel, they're not known for that. They sit in that 4-2-3-1, a little bit more methodical.
Maloto plays it through in an early chance. It's deflected away by Ouimet. To your point, Bethlehem isn't a team that necessarily does that, but they're young and they're athletic and they can.
Yeah, they have that spirit and energy to be able to get it done. And the good thing is they're willing to experience that situation. Brendan Burke has no problem throwing people into the fire and just say, hey, let's go do it. We have nothing to lose. And that's probably why they've been successful, and they've gotten good results versus people. But just going back to it, keep an eye on it. Obviously, Gary Smith doing his homework as well and deciding to play that high line. See how that plays out over the course of this match.
Well, plays it ahead. Now James Joam trying to gain the byline and slid aside by Seth Moses. Early corner for Nashville in the 9th minute.
It's a good ball down into the corner, and it's a very well done job by Indy 11 to track back. That's just a little bit earlier before the other ball down into the byline. Martin Rennie high on his back four. Garza, Ioze, Carl Ouimet, Carlisle Metro, and Kevin Venegas. Again, we have to continuously reference the injuries that they've had to deal with, but their ability to get all those guys in the back together again has been absolutely amazing, especially Ioze. Keep an eye on him. He's actually one of the club's leading scorers, 4 goals right up there with Suni Saad, but 3 of them are from set pieces. So that gives you an idea of where India has struggled going forward.
Launched along by Reed and caught by Fawn Williams. The 11 team. Got 8 goals in their last 3 games, but just 9 in their first 10 as Braun a bit too far out front, only proving to exacerbate those concerns against a Nashville team that has conceded less goals than anybody in the East except for Bob Lilly's Pittsburgh Riverhounds, who seem to lead the way every year in that category. Maloto. Woodbury. McInerney charges ahead. Braun holding things up. Trying to play it through for McInerney. Well touched. Woodbury getting back. Knocked away from Reed, but falls to Maloto. 4 goals, 2 assists on the year. He's impressed so much over the last few seasons. The Swope Park Rangers reaching back-to-back USL Cup finals. Heavy touch into the back line. Select is the official soccer ball of the United Soccer League. The latest Select products and special offers found at selectsportamerica.com. And receive free shipping on orders of $50 or more.
Mike, we talked about the acquisition of Brandon Allen and him coming over from Bethlehem Steel, but for me, the ability to free up space with Allen standing up top as that striker in that number 9 possession, it really does well for Mensah and Moloto in behind. And those guys carrying so much heavy load going forward. And when you watch this Nashville squad, the back, very dynamic, very compressed, and they do a good job breaking teams down when they come at them, and then kind of slowly move up the field. But in transition, it was difficult for them to kind of put something together on a continuous run because you only had that one piece here and there. Not really a boatload of injuries, but now when you combine all these guys together, you get Moloto, you get Allen, Matt LaGrassa, you and I talked about him moving into the field a little bit more central, freeing up some space. Ish on the left-hand side, dynamically going forward, the offense is looking a lot more dangerous.
Doyle. Some work for Mitchell. Jose. On the ball again. Time in La Liga in Spain. I guess touched up by Braun. That slid to stay in on the touchline. Is there more to be had here for Indy 11? Watson, Jose. Now maybe Reed. If things going the other direction, Allen leading the line. There he is, Brandon Allen. Makes a deflection on the way across. Toward LaGrassa. Ultimately, Fauna Williams off his line. Make easy work of it.
Oh, Matt LaGrassa was licking his chops on the back post. He was going to get a little easy pickings sliding in behind Jose. But interestingly enough, just on the turnover there in the middle of the pitch, Indy had compressed itself a little bit. Nashville steps up. Jose gives the ball away in the middle, and they had opportunity in numbers to go the other direction, choosing to slow things down and push it to the left-hand side. Almost gifted an opportunity to go forward and decided to pull back.
Oh, lofted over the back line and saved by Pickens as he dives aside. Massive save by the goalkeeper for Nashville.
One ball. Guerra serving a sweet little ball in. You see Justin Braun trying to find the goal again in consecutive games. The general stepping up, phenomenal save, upper corner. Just gets a tiny little bit of his outstretched hand on it. More than a little furious with his back line and the easy ball movement throughout the middle of the park.
On 2 goals last time out against Toronto FC 2. 3-1 victory, the winless USL Eastern Conference side. Robbed early on. Jose toward Ouimet. Carl Ouimet scores his first for Indy 11. And it's the road team out in front.
You can see Matt Pickens shaking his head in utter disbelief. He's got to be very, very frustrated. It's not a bad floated ball into the back post, but it's terrible marking by the home squad. Matt LaGrassa lets Ouimet just drift in behind him. A lot of blue shirts just standing around. And you can see Ryan James, a last-ditch effort right on the line. But it's a decent run from the center back, and the visitors do a good job jumping out early.
Well, that'll quiet Nashville just a tidge. 16th minute, Carl Ouimet. Won the NASL last year with San Francisco. Won the USL with New York Red Bulls too. Off to a good start on the evening. He's a guy we had a lengthy conversation with Martin Rennie about. This season could have gone a lot of different ways if Ouimet doesn't step up along the back line, play a lot of different positions.
We talked about the lineup in general overall, but that back line was very makeshift in the first 5-6 matches of this season. And that is due to all the injuries. Venegas had a little bit of a thigh injury early on. Ayoze was hit or miss as well. But again, all of those guys kind of stepping back in, solidifying some stuff as of late has given them the opportunity to go up against some decent squads. And it's good for them coming on the road. This is the recipe for success that you want to see. If you're going to get a result and come to First Tennessee Park, you want to get out early, make the home team claw their way back.
Just the second goal allowed by Nashville at home this season. By the way, part of that conversation with Martin Rennie about Carl Ouimet, he says you play him in pool, you play him in table tennis, doesn't matter. He wants to beat you in absolutely everything.
He says everything the guy picks up turns to gold, and he's so good at everything. And I kind of want to challenge him to a pizza eating contest or something. I feel like I can win something here, you know what I mean? My body may be a little bit old, but I can still creep back in somewhere.
Hey man, you're getting married over the off season. Avoid the pizza, I'll handle it for you.
Don't tell anyone.
You're welcome. Yeah, sorry. Don't look now, but Indy 11 has now scored 9 goals. Back just under 300 game minutes. That's 3+ games. Bourgeois. Meloto keeping possession, jumping out in front of Seth Moses. Allen tapping wide, Jome. Allen trying to cut around. Again, the Bourgeois who played last year in Tulsa under David Vaudreuil. He was let go yesterday after a disastrous start. One of the leading candidates for USL Coach of the Year last season, turning Tulsa from a bottom-of-the-table team to a playoff team. Very short amount of time. We wish David the best. And Lee Cowlishaw stepping down from the Richmond Kickers after 19 years, the longest tenured guy in the league. Shocking news on USLsoccer.com over the last couple of hours.
That information coming across the desk, we couldn't believe it, both looking at each other just in disbelief that this was taking place.
Well, and Patrice Carteron in Phoenix, moving on to Al Ahly in Egypt, one of the biggest teams in all of Africa. Rick Shantz taking over, the former FC Tucson head coach. FC Tucson headed to USL D3 next year.
It kind of gives you an idea, though, where this league is at and the success that they expect out of everybody on a regular basis. And obviously it goes organization-wide, but with David Vaudreuil, you and I were talking about this off air. 2016, one of the worst teams in the league, 5-21-4 with only 19 points. Last year, make the argument for the coach of the year. We were talking about that and everything he went through. 14-4, 46 points. So more than doubling their point total and clawing their way back into the playoffs.
Woodbury lining it toward the back post. Oh, Watson felt Jome creeping in. Watson elucidating the plan here on a deep throw in for Nashville. Just barely kept in by Akinyoti. Nashville looking to try and make it 9 unbeaten. It would be 3 games short of Reno's active season high 12-game unbeaten streak. Indy 11 trying to get 3 points and move into 4th place in the East with a win. Fine position early. Nashville continues to probe. Go Matern the foul.
There's no reason to foul in that situation, Nico.
Loto darting through, turning by Watson, reaching the byline. overcooking his cross.
That's one of those ones as a manager and Martin Rennie, you're screaming from the sideline because your team defensively becomes compact, does such a good job holding the ball up and starts to push them in the other direction. And look, as they're fighting in the 50-50 with Moloto and it goes in, you don't need to step in there and commit the foul. Give them an opportunity to come back at you. Just continue to push your line a little bit higher, make them retreat and start over. Seen some fun battles this evening so far with Moloto. Was really looking forward to the Sunni Saad issue at the back and what that was going to be like for Nashville. Not going to see that, but then coming the other direction, Iose is going to have his hands full with Brandon Allen. And their formation has been interesting so far. You can see them really struggling to find a mixture in the middle of the field. Brandon Allen coming back 20, 30 yards at times, sitting in that 9 position, sliding back into an 8. You'll see that out of a forward when he becomes frustrated. Now, you're only 22 minutes in, but when you see him start drifting back, got to feed him a little bit more, make sure he keeps that high line.
Numbers streaking through. Moloto, turned by Jome, took the contact. Ultimately, Venegas does enough to dispossess. Watson, lengthy spell in MLS. Last year with Phoenix Rising, Didier Drogba's team, captaining that side. Well, captaining it till Didier Drogba showed up. I don't know if you ever did get to wear the captain's armband. I know you've been tossed from a few games, but, you know.
I quite regularly donned the captain's armband, but unfortunately it was usually making its way to another player on my way off the pitch and not necessarily in a substitution manner.
Well, if you're Gary Smith, you got to feel like Nashville's starting to get a better grip of the game and getting numbers forward. Now how do you combine to make something of that?
You got to win the battle in the middle of the park. And not that Indy 11 has done that much so far, but all the talent we spoke about at the top of the broadcast, Bourgeois, we see Ryan James on the outside and overlapping runs, but Bolu, Akinyoti, I mean, he really hasn't touched it that much, playing a little bit deeper, and that's fine, but he's got to combine more with Michael Reed. You can see as the ball's fluctuating from side to side, more so on the left for Nashville so far. They're kind of condensing themselves over there so that when the ball tries to switch the other direction, there's not an outlet pass. The opportunity isn't there. Indy 11 realizes this and they close it down. It keeps them there. Quite a few times we've seen them in that 2-3-man game down in the corner like you're seeing right now. There's no way to come the other direction.
James hops away from Fana Williams. He was fouled by LaGrassa.
Deciding to go a little bit direct here. On a bad ball floated in. Fana Williams had no problem stepping up, just throwing his body weight around a little bit. I'm sure he had no problem addressing himself to Matt LaGrassa. Nice little introduction, 25 minutes into the match.
Fana Williams kicks it away. Hear exclusive stories directly from the USL's players in USLsoccer.com's From the Pitch, written and video content that provides unfiltered access, the first-person look, the professional game, players' everyday lives. And Austin Deleuze of North Carolina FC is taking part in Playing for Pride. Just wrote one, USLsoccer.com, that's very much worth your time. Speedy Williams from Louisville City had a very good one earlier this year. Long story short, it's Players Tribune, but USL only. Chipped away by Reed. A lot of ground to cover, and ultimately Ouimet drives it away right into the teeth. Nashville in midfield. Laced through by LaGrassa. Now Allen. Ton of curl on that, but not nearly enough to make it a threat. And Fana Williams.
Gives you a good look at the quick change capability Brandon Allen carries, though. This little step inside, pushes right across his body. One look up, has it go to the far post. Fortunately, puts in another zip code. I'll get it, Brandon. No worries. You're welcome. Nice little thumbs up, buddy.
Such an incredible rookie year. Only Sean Okoli eclipsed him in the MVP vote with FC Cincinnati. Finished Rookie of the Year and scored a hat trick in the USL Cup final for New York, winning the MVP of that game. Here's Braun, a touch ahead. Danger still. Field diagonal intercepted. Got a player down in midfield. Looks like Liam Doyle.
Doyle not very happy with the challenge. A little conversation with our head referee here. Training staff stepped on. Everybody got to grab a little refreshment. Not overly hot here this evening, but definitely some humidity at play.
Giant thunderstorms a couple hours ago. The rain largely has left the field a little bit moist, but otherwise okay.
Doyle's obviously going to be frustrated in that situation, but he goes to the ground, throws his body in harm's way a little bit. Probably one of the last people I'd want to get involved with on the pitch.
Absolutely not. Year in Harrisburg, year at Swope Park, out of the Isle of Man. Carl Ouimet scoring on a corner kick in the 16th minute. Jose with Indy 11, an early lead away to Nashville. United Soccer League Game of the Week, ESPN News. Allen, the return ball, there's contact, and yes, a whistle. Smear Pekmik bringing play back in a dangerous spot for Nashville to go to work.
Rightfully so. Nico Matern gets caught up a little bit here once again. Good combination play by Nashville. Brendan Allen steps back a little and has a nice ball down into the channel. Just another silly foul from your holding midfielder. He's got to do better in those situations. Step out, get that early goal 29 minutes in, and two just absolutely ridiculous fouls, gifting something to Nashville, giving them another opportunity so close to goal.
It's not Jome, it's Reed. Deflects away. There's a little flick on from Doyle, who's back into the game. The attack's still on. James aiming for Doyle again. He's the kind of target you're looking for at 6'4". And now a chance for Melodo. Won't get there in time. Fawn Williams aggressive. And it appears early on that with Nashville, you have to be aggressive if you're Fawn Williams. LaGrossa had a good chance earlier in a similar scenario.
Smart recognition by the goalkeeper to step up into space, and his center back. It's the second time we've seen it. Carlisle Mitchell just head not on a swivel enough, gets caught a little bit out of position, turned around as the ball comes over his right shoulder. Plays drifting like that. Got to keep yourself a little bit more open to the transitioning of play, especially as a center back. You're the last line of defense. Got to stay in constant communication with everybody.
Reed steering it aside. LaGrossa deflects. Ultimately flies well out of play. For a man scared to pull the trigger. Scored against Louisville in the Open Cup. Has Indy back on their heels.
And Matt LaGrossa tends to play a little bit more of a supporting role for his squads, but like you said, Mike, has no problem unleashing a laser or two from long range, going from distance, trying to pick out that bottom corner, but Fawn Williams definitely had it covered.
Poor Carl Ouimet having to stick his knee out at that. Just past the half-hour mark, Melodo, the corner. A piece of that, and it's saved away from the line. Oh, maybe a chance to counter. This could be disastrous for Nashville. McInerney wants the leading ball, deflects across. Pickens make easy work of it. It's strong defense by James in recovery. Akinyoti. Watson giving chase. Reed defers. Intercepted. Now Braun. back for We Met. Jose close to the line. Well worked by Indy 11 to move ahead. Guerra. Moses, who's switched onto the left. McInerney started the match. Jose continuing still for Woodbury. Of course, Tyler Pasher unavailable, a neck injury. They think they've got some of the best left-sided players available in the league.
You can see why right now. Jose, such a technical left back. Good stuff getting forward. You can see the overlapping run causing a little bit of frustration for Nashville. Nashville carrying most of the possession last 15 minutes or so. Not very purposeful though. I've only seen Indy go forward 2 or 3 times. One just a moment ago on the breakaway with McInerney. Couldn't find the end product. But you can see the visitors trying to come up with their own response.
LaGrassa, this will stay in, or will it? No, Maloto, watch that spin right onto the line. Maloto out of Lindsey Wilson College, an NAIA All-American, a guy who trialed at Sporting Kansas City, lashed on Swope Park for the 2017 season. And really pushed the team forward last year. Allen with his head down. Jome. Jome trying to put the moves on.
It's another situation of your striker just keeping his head down. It's a good job by LaGrassa coming in, overlapping run by Michael Reed down on the right side, but Brendan Allen has his head down, looking the other direction the entire way. 2 things have to happen there. Pick your head up, number 2. You gotta be screaming for that ball. So we talked about the elements at play here this evening. He's quieted down a little bit on the left-hand side. He and Ryan James have been in constant contact so far.
Corner on the way. Bounces off Venegas. Struggle to clear this. Comes out to Bourgeois. James backstopping at the halfway line. Maloto past Jome to Allen. And now the shot curling in. Fawn Williams collect with ease. This ball played through. Braun has a chance. It's off the post and in. Pickens should have been able to pull that in. It skips aside and in for Indy 11. They've got a 2-goal lead. Lightning striking twice, just as it did in Indianapolis in April. 2 first-half goals for Indy 11.
No, you can't take anything away from Indy 11 on the counterattack here, but this is just absolutely poor management, once again, by the back line, and especially by your last line of defense, Matt Pickens. There's no reason whatsoever this ball should find its way into the back of the net. Regardless, Braun, once again, making his presence felt, getting in alone, having a crack on the far post, and I'll tell you what, I brought this up to you in a conversation with Martin Rennie, and then we continued it further. Though this wasn't that far, I said that they needed to take chances, more opportunities, putting shots on goal. Martin questioned it a little bit, but when you take a look at the metrics, they're not really testing goalkeepers on a regular basis. Twice here tonight, twice in the back of the net.
You look at both these teams, they're among the lowest in fast break opportunities in the league because, in part, they are so sturdy defensively and the way they play is so very well structured. Sometimes it doesn't necessarily lend itself to getting out on the break necessarily, as much as possessing the ball with purpose.
And you've seen that so far as well, with Nashville carrying all the opportunities going forward.
Look at Watson carrying this ahead. McInerney, Braun. Oh, Braun lets this skip away. Is looking for his second brace in as many games.
But if you keep an eye on the ball movement by Nashville, a lot of times it's one touch, look up, play. one-touch, two-touch look-up play. That ball needs to come in and ping, ping, ping. Needs to be moved around the park much faster. It's too slow from the home squad. Indy 11 has a pretty easy time right now isolating themselves and breaking that down defensively. Now, obviously, we've seen some chances by Nashville so far, but if you want to break this Indy 11 team down, if you want to get in behind Iose and Kevin Venegas, it's got to be quicker. That ball into Brendan Allen, back out into the channel, and then whipped back into the middle. It's been too slow as of late.
Chested down Meloto. Moves forward with a little more intensity now. Cross field. LaGrassa tossed aside by Iose. To be frank, it's a bit staggering for Nashville. 8 goals allowed all season in league play in 13 games. They've allowed 2 tonight. They allowed 2 of those 8 goals to SUNY Sod when these teams first met in April, which coincidentally was the last time Nashville lost in league play.
You can just see they're all out of sorts. The confusion, it's resonating from front to back, and I'm sure Gary Smith is going to have a few words for his boys at halftime. You're 38 minutes in, you've controlled much of this match. Again, going forward, hasn't been very inventive, but still in charge nonetheless, and just 2 mental breakdowns has given the visitors the opportunity to creep out in front. Albeit without SUNY Sod, we thought he was going to be such a massive piece here this evening. Not in the lineup, not even on the bench. You can see Indy at this point in time is just willing to pick and choose their places. Martin Rennie obviously has them organized and said, you know what, let's go, let's try and get an early one. They did that, able to counter again. Don't be surprised if they just...
Wonderful run forward. It's slapped aside by Pickens. And nearly another for Indy.
I don't speak French, so I can't read Matt Pickens' mouth. But Kevin Venegas stepping up out of the back. We saw Iose a few times on the left, not that far up. But he did a good job protruding into the back line in the back 4 of Nashville. But again, gets the ball 35, 40 yards from goal and just slowly tiptoes his way. There's no reason that a central midfielder or one of their back line can't step up and get a challenge in.
And when you think about Matt Pickens, he's the kind of guy who can chastise the defense a little bit and say, okay, guys, here we go. He's been around this block many times, 35 years old. Guy who's won most of what there is to win in this country. He's the leader of that back line, one that's gelled together faster than I think anybody could have anticipated.
And that's where, from a personnel standpoint and a leadership role, you kind of have to take your shots as they come. Obviously, if your performance is poor like we're seeing right now, it's easy to backlash a little bit, but he sees the game the best outside of your center backs. You talked about the accolades that he brings to the field. He's got a lot of knowledge, so if he steps in your face a little bit, there's no reason to go back at him. You got to remember, you're a band of brothers, and although you're frustrated, you're only 40 minutes into this match. You still have plenty of time to crawl your way back in.
Foul near midfield. It seems like everybody keeping the peace as Ismir Pekmek allows the trainer to come on. It's Iose. When you talk with Martin Rennie and you talk about the left side, just how strong this team can be, Pasher may come back and it opens up a wealth of opportunities with Pasher and Iose. And Iose really the straw that stirred the drink this year for Indy 11, coming over from a 5-year stint with the New York Cosmos.
Where they utilize him is going to be the million-dollar question. Use him on the right side as well, dealing with that neck injury. But it's interesting the chemistry that has been acquired with Iose and SUNY Sod on that left-hand side, because early on in the season, and not as of late, but early on, we saw the guys in the middle really stretch a lot. You would see McInerney Soon Saad, Seth Moses, and they would start out on the left and move to the middle, move to the right, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's going to cause frustration for defenses, and that's great. But at the same point in time, if you're not creating the key word chemistry with your other players, it's just useless movement. And he talked about how his ability to solidify that left-hand side of the pitch with Iose has been a main reason for their success as of late.
Iose and Saad combining for 8 goals, 4 assists this year. The real leaders, Indy 11 side that came into the night with just 17 goals. On the restart, Bourgeois helping to steer this out of play. Coming up at halftime, we'll take a look back at first half highlights and statistics. Plenty of news around the United Soccer League and USL Division III, as well as some USL expansion to talk about, tell you the direction of the league. And obviously we'll talk about it in a few minutes time, Devin, but 4 members of USL D3 now on the books, and get the feeling that there's something special brewing there. Stephen Short leading that group at USL headquarters in Tampa to try and build a whole new league set to launch next year.
You better believe there's going to be more than one suitor or two. Some more decision-making processes getting involved in that and acquiring more teams, but it's been a great opportunity for everybody. It's an awesome announcement, and just going forward, the opportunities that it provides for everybody around the United States. People don't realize what a big impact this has, not just for 18, 23 players on a squad and the coaching staff, but it does in the community. Like you said, we'll dive deeper to that in a little bit.
I was looking, and publicly already, USL D3's visited 30 cities. Trying to go to those cities that under 1 million, over 75 million people in population centers around the country that don't have access to pro soccer. Nashville and Indianapolis, the kinds of cities where maybe you didn't think it was possible. The Brickyard and Music City, and ultimately soccer's fit right into the culture.
It's been absolutely amazing, and the growth again just continues citywide. But I have a little bone to pick with Jake Edwards. I don't remember getting my phone call about an opportunity to expand in my city.
Yeah, okay. Well, that's because you want to play. You're trying to get your career back on track. Stick with this, man.
Yeah, that ain't happening.
Guerra goes down. Cagnoti commits the foul. Think about Nashville. They got nearly 20,000 people packed into Nissan Stadium. Their opener, they called it the Road to Nissan. They'll have part 2 to that when they end up taking on FC Cincinnati on the 7th of July, a Saturday. Packed to Nissan Stadium. Crowd too big for First Tennessee Park. And also the Second Harvest Food Bank having a drive that day. So Nashville trying to play a bit of a role in the community as well. Something that when we spoke with really the whole staff, Chris and Mike Jacobs and the ownership group, and down to Gary Smith and the players, this is an organization that's trying to build something bigger than just a team of, like you said, 23, 25 players.
You said that, you know, they think it's a real family environment, but I liked another word that Gary Smith used quite frequently was everybody cares.
Yeah.
Every decision that they make, whether it's tactical, personnel, meals, anything from top to bottom, they're just, everybody cares on how it's going to affect that next person. And you don't see that a lot in general, yet alone in sports today. So obviously a great thing for this organization moving forward.
Now in one of the newer signings to this Nashville side, trying to get on track. 3 minutes of first half stoppage. Certainly he's a target here for Ish Jome. Now it's Reed stepping forward. Header is saved. Vaughn Williams just barely knocking it away from Doyle. Nearly a chance for Nashville out in front. And now McInerney driving along diagonal ball. And 2 players there playing hungry hippopotami.
A little bit more ingenuitive from the home squad. It's a good ball to the back post, and I like the second ball redirected across the 6. Keep an eye on the Indy back line. They bit it. They took the bait. They jumped to the near post and gave that opportunity for the guys on the back post to squeak back in, but you have to give credit to Vaughn Williams, recognizing the threat coming in across. But I'll tell you what, coming back the other direction, McInerney's going to want that one back. Had a streaking Justin Braun on the back post, just didn't put enough air underneath it.
Allen. Crowd beginning to get immersed again. Jome. McInerney is back to knock him off the ball. Braun, the second of the 2 goals for Indy 11 in this first half, playing back to Watson. The big question we had coming into the game is, okay, well, Soony Saad steps out, McInerney steps in. Does that mean Braun moves wide, or how does this work? And McInerney's more or less played everywhere so far.
You and I almost having a little friendly argument about that. We're almost sure that we were both right and wrong.
I had never seen him play outside striker with Galaxy, with Philadelphia. I just hadn't seen it.
It's been a little bit more makeshift for him at Indy 11. Martin Rennie obviously employing all the skills that he's acquired and the expert tutelage over the years, but you can see he slides into the 10. He'll move out to the left, shifting to the right, and just that little chameleon-like piece that's been great for Indy 11 so far. It's allowed Justin Braun to kind of freelance a little bit up top, which, as we've seen, has caused frustration for Nashville.
Woodbury brought down. Allen on the turn, deflects away. Meloto right to Fawn Williams. Oh, meow, good chance for Nashville.
Good stuff from Brandon Allen. This is something that he's acquired with experience over the years. Back at Red Bull 2, you would see him try and take this on one-on-one. Instead, he recognizes the opportunity, tries to play one off, actually, makes its way back to Meloto. And I tell you, he brings it down so well, but for me, there's no reason to go with the toe there. Just hit it right over the top on the laces with your left foot.
Watson spins away, ultimately pocket picked. We've reached the halftime whistle. Well, Devin, I don't think anybody saw this coming. 1 goal allowed all year at home by Nashville, and they concede 2 to Indy 11 without Soony Saad on the field.
It's been poor from the back line, and you can't really say poor performance overall. They've been able to hold the ball and get forward a little bit, but it's got to be better. It's got to be more direct, a little bit more ingenuitive when they get into the final third, and the communication has to be better. You can see Matt Pickett's and co. really struggling.
Martin Rennie has to be enamored with this first half performance. The header from Ouimet, his first for Indy 11 in the 16th minute. Justin Braun, 3 now in 2 games. 2-0 lead. Highlights and stats after this. How was that?
You're welcome.
1, 2, 3,
You took my
4,
meow.
5, 6, 7, 8,
Meow,
9.
meow, why'd you do that?
Meow. Oh, meow.
All right, so
You're good.
what do we got going on here, bro?
Yes, sir. What do we got? Highlights and stats. Back to break.
Abe. Abrahamovich. What's up, dude? What are we doing?
What are we doing? Yep. Okay. First half highlights, stats. Okay.
What's the first highlight so I know what I'm leading myself into? Or the first 2? Can you just tell me?
Oh, you're showing it. Cool. Header from Braun, right? Yeah. Heck of a save. Goodness. Guerra to Braun. And then that leads to the corner with the goal. That's a good place to mention the set piece thing. That's a good stat.
Who hits the corner?
Well, it happened like 4 seconds later. Ioze.
It's Ioze, right?
Yep. I need you to step to the other side because this wire is going to be a problem.
Yep.
Sorry.
And we met on the goal, right?
Yes. It's first since 2015. Back with Red Bull.
Really?
Yeah. Been a while. It's been a while.
Dude, they're all over the map.
No, it's not good enough tonight.
They are all over the map.
What's the direction you want to go here when we come back? Good for Indy, not good enough for Nashville?
Yeah, and I can just play with both sides.
Okay. dude, you can still, in the second half, it's going to be a totally new audience. By the way, before us on ESPN News, Around the Horn with my boy, Fordham alum Tony Reale. Heck yes. How do you feel? You good?
Yeah. I thought it was good.
You sound real comfortable.
Thanks, man. Yeah, I felt great.
Yeah.
Again, the opening, it like gets you going. You sat down. I was like, yeah, I'm good.
Yeah.
I mean, Indy.
Hey, good for them.
How?
Hey, 2 mistakes.
Yeah.
That's all it takes.
Now, why are you always right?
Look at the skyline in Nashville, Tennessee. 2-0 lead for Indy 11. If the result holds, they moved into 4th in the Eastern Conference, leapfrogging Nashville in First Tennessee Park tonight. So far, so good for the road team. Welcome back to the USL Game of the Week. We're at halftime. Devin Kerr alongside Mike Watts with you here on ESPN News. And boy, Devin, if you're Indy 11, you must be just ecstatic about how this went. If you're Nashville, what happened?
Gary Smith has got a problem. He's got to figure out what they're going to do from a chemistry standpoint and figure out this formation. But Martin Reddy and Indy 11 did such a good job getting out early and getting that early goal. That was the biggest thing. You saw them jump right out of the gate, and you had an idea that they were going to sit a little bit further and try and pick and prod at their chances. It was a good ball in by Garrett to Ryan Braun, able to push something to the back post. Unfortunately, a decent save by Matt Pickens, but that's going to head out to the corner. And from there, Iose is going to step in, serves a delicious little ball to the back post. But again, it's the marking by Nashville that is terrible. You see everybody drifting back in. They're playing a little bit of a zonal marking, not good enough. Ouimet's able to find the back of the net, and you can see Matt Pickens just flustered and frustrated with everybody in front of him.
First time he's scored in a pro match since 2015. Carl Ouimet, a champion in his last 2 club campaigns, is off to a good start on the night. This in the 16th minute of play, his first for Indy 11. Meanwhile, there were chances here in this first half. This deflects wide ultimately from LaGrassa.
Again, we said that he has no problem pushing something up there, but look, going forward, there wasn't enough cleverness. There was no craft behind their actions, and Indy 11 was able to capitalize on that. We said picking and prodding, but they just parked the bus, sat back, let Nashville come to them, and then chose their direction. Certain points in time, did a good job going forward, but look, even in the opportunities that they had, there was no reason whatsoever that ball should have gotten behind the back line or ever gotten by Matt Pickens.
Oh, Pickens, that is hugely uncharacteristic, and then Venegas making his run and Pickens redeeming himself for the moment.
It's another opportunity by the right back, just stepping out, and we talked so much about Iose. Venegas getting in on the act, but again, it's just 25, 35, 40 yards out, Indy picking up the ball. Someone's got to step up if you're Nashville. Get in a 50 challenge. Make your presence aware. Indy's made their presence aware on the offensive side of the ball. Defensively, needs to be better for the home squad.
For Indy 11, that's absolutely getting all that you asked for from what you've put together. If it's Nashville, there are things that are positive. It just wasn't good enough on the whole.
Yeah, again, when you get into the final third, they've really struggled. Bolu Akinyoti has moved the ball around a little bit, but again, it's that 1, 2, 3 touches. It needs to be crisper and cleaner. 1, 2, pinging in around the park. Make Indy chase, make them do the work.
Indy 11 last had a 3-game win streak in July 2017, 11 months ago. This current scoreline would put them in that position. When we come back, a look at news and notes from around the USL. Back in Music City, Indy 11, a 2-goal lead at halftime over Nashville SC, whose unbeaten run at home very much in jeopardy. Let's take a look at some news and notes from around the USL. Some coaching changes. David Vaudrillon moves on. Also, Lee Kalish on Richmond moves on. A couple of shockers. Meanwhile, attendance over 1 million now, Devin, have gone through the turnstiles. It's a month earlier than last year, and whether it's Nashville or Indy, a lot of teams have played a role in all that.
It's been absolutely amazing, and it's not just one-offs. It's week in and week out, and it's so impressive to see FC Cincinnati. Again, you referenced Nashville, and it's good to see it from each and every squad, and that's only going to continue as we see the growth that's gone on with this league. Division 3 as well. I mean, it's going to get bigger. It's going to get better.
And Adonijah Reed, the 18-year-old, a hat trick. You'll see him next week on the USL Game of the Week when they visit Indy 11. That comes up next Wednesday, Lucas Oil Field. Plenty of work still to be done here. It's Indy 11-2, Nashville 0 at the half. No. Okay. We still doing the USL D3 thing? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. We talked about it in game already, so it works out.
Where are we going now?
We're just talking expansion in D2.
Okay.
Expansion side Nashville Soccer Club at home, trailing 2-0 to Indy 11, a newcomer to USL in their own right in 2018. Devin Kerr alongside Mike Watts with you, and plenty of new teams coming in 2019. Austin will join the club. New Mexico, El Paso, Birmingham Legion are set to join the way. Tim Howard at the Memphis press conference. And of course, looking forward, East Bay out in California and Chicago, Illinois. The Ricketts family involved in that USL and soccer-specific stadium move going forward. So a ton of expansion. These two teams, if you're trying to build a team year one into a new league, they've pretty much given you a pretty good blueprint, I would say.
It's a great way to mimic it for sure. And people don't understand with expansion, it's like we said, it's not just the 18, 23-man roster and continuing further than that. It creates such a sense of community and environment for everybody that's involved, and it creates jobs from an economic standpoint. All this can do is help your community grow because it's the players, the coaches, the vendors at the stadium, obviously people taking care of the grass and this, that, and the other, and just the opportunity that it brings to your city is such a massive one. It's easy to go, oh great, we're getting a football program or a soccer program. But to look deeper and further than that, it's exactly what this country needs at so many different levels to continue to push the growth of this game.
Will it be eloquent words? Gary Smith, there'll be more. They turn this thing around. Trailing 2-0 at home to Indy 11. We're into the second half. Our USL Game of the Week on ESPN News. Reed playing it out for Meloto. Watson stiff arms him aside. You would think, Devin, that coming out of the locker room, Nashville is going to be quick to try and get something going.
High energy, to say the least. You can see the middle of the park moving a little bit more. And the changes that Gary Smith may or may not get involved here. Got to be more from that young man, Bolo Akinyoti. Got to get more involved on the ball. We talked about his ability to push it around and carry that high passing accuracy. Wasn't as prevalent as we thought it would see in the first half. And he's the one who dictates a lot of this pace for this squad going forward. So efficient. He's got to do a better job putting himself in those opportunities.
Doyle. Jose. Alan Wynn coming in to halftime whistle, replacing Ish Jome. Ish Jome comes out, having now his third start, sixth appearance. Nashville is Allen too far out in front. For Nashville, you have a couple of levers you could pull here. Allen Wynn, just one of them, but Rapapa Mensah certainly another, where his explosiveness off the bench is well documented.
He's done such a good job combining with the boys up top and not only finding the back of the net, but doing it in such late game dramatics. We talked about the 4 goals overall. 3 of those have come in the final 20 minutes of a game. So gives you an idea of kind of that quick fire option, as you mentioned, bring in and off the bench and get something late. Gary Smith choosing to opt a different direction for now, trying to control the pace of this game and just slowly move back in. Frustrate Indy 11 a little bit more, maybe force the hand of Martin Rennie in the other direction.
A turn. Seth Moses. Venegas. Lost to Michael Reed. Now charging forward, Allen Wynn. So good 1v1. Pumps the brakes and lost it. Braun threw his foot at it. Bourgeois knocks it upfield for Nashville in blue tonight. Away from Woodbury. Woodbury picking up a knock before the first game against Louisville and struggling to get fully fit. David Edgar came in for a brief stretch, but ultimately Bourgeois played so well. Nashville able to take care of their back line issues from within. Indy 11, 2-goal lead. Nashville trying to move forward, ultimately deflected away. Akinyoti continues on. First Tennessee Park, Nashville, Tennessee for the USL Game of the Week. Nashville side surprisingly outplayed in the opening half, having given up just 1 goal at home. They're opening 5 home matches in USL play, ceding twice in the first half.
Penny for a thought.
$1 for a thought.
I'll give you $10.
Yeah.
Larry Smith's not going to be happy so far. But you like the response that you've seen coming out of the locker room. Heads aren't down, everybody up, very energetic. Obviously, we've seen the run by Alan Wynn down the left-hand side. Just got to carry that emotion. See a little bit further, you're down 2, but you know you're going to possess the ball, and there are going to be opportunities, but what are you going to do now? You've moved into the second half. You've gotten into the final third, but it can't just be Brandon Allen standing alone up top by himself. We've referenced the craft before. You can see the guys just kind of standing around a little bit, not really sure which direction each one's going to move in and off of. The chemistry just not there tonight.
Service took a funny hop on Fawn Williams. He controls it. Wynn poking this through. It's out of the reach of Brandon Allen. Sliced. Bourgeois knocked it ahead. Fawn Williams back to work. We're told it takes a special kind of player to come play in the United States, but this isn't a guy who's here to see New York City. Martin Rennie said he's here to see the flyover states, the states people don't typically go visit. Fawn Williams, a great painter, and he's an eclectic one to be sure.
Had to be the goalkeeper, didn't it?
Yeah, yeah. Works out that way, doesn't it? So far, he's been fantastic for Indy 11. James Akinyoti, and now Reed. Loto dropping in. LaGrassa. LaGrassa cleared as far as James. Closed down quickly. Play still on through Wynn. Reed. Laser that's snuffed out by Matern. Haven't heard much from Braun in this half. That got out over far touchline from Bourgeois.
Again, it's going to be touch and go from Indy 11 up top. Some of them acquire a little bit of possession right at the start of the second half, but that's eased off and reverted back to what was a little bit more on everybody's minds. At the close of the first, Nashville grabbing possession, moving the ball around. You can see Lebo Maloto pulling a deeper line, trying to come back and get more opportunities, bringing the ball to his feet. Try and play the maestro in the middle of the field if he can.
Jose trying to get around on the edge. Akinyoti. Lacrossa now up the line, Meloto. Room for Reed. Slices it across, Wynn. Wynn cutting in on his right, squaring off. And now the shot is just up and wide from Ryan James.
Ryan James thinks he deserves a corner on that one, but that's good ball movement by Nashville. Much better, much quicker. You can see it as the ball comes into this space, moves outside. Much more difficult for Indy 11 to shift around the pitch. Michael Reed doing a very good job grabbing the ball, central midfield, and then pushing it out to the left side. That's what you want to see out of them. Continue to push down in the final third.
Akinyoti, heavy touch. Guerra went in. Look at Reed sprinting through the midfield.
He's definitely been very active here in the second half so far.
Meloto bounces away. Ayoze hoping to cover behind Watson. Will this stay in play for Lacrosse? It didn't.
London Woodbury caught out in no man's land a little bit. Just seeing him in the back line, just moving his way up the field, getting involved in the offensive side of things.
The USL's official Twitter feed keeps you up to date with news, live game updates, and highlights from around the league 24/7. Follow @USL on Twitter, and you can see one other game being played tonight, 2 of the 21 this week in USL on ESPN Plus. You can see the highlight of Andrew Brody's 8th-minute goal for Real Monarchs at that gorgeous stadium, Zions Bank Stadium in Harriman, Utah. Monarchs leading the way in the West over expansion side Fresno. See both the goals from the first half of this one. Braun in the 35th. We met in the 16th. Indy in fine form on the road. Taylor Washington waiting to make his move.
They already made the change on the left side of the pitch, bringing in Wynn. You have to wonder if they bring LaGrassa off. Laboring a little bit. Here's a good look at Matt LaGrassa. Not the best of shifts from him so far this evening, but he has been integral in certain places. Definitely like some more activity out of him, but Taylor Washington, they use him on the left, they use him on the right. Obviously putting Alan Wynn on the left, you would assume that he's going to go out on that right side of the pitch. Push some movement down into the wing.
Bourgeois leading beyond McInerney. Ayoze couldn't clear. Getting by Matern. Woodbury knocks it wide. LaGrassa crossing. Wynn heads it down. The turn. And Watson will clear it on the dribble. Grassa again. Grassa. Akinyoti. Wynn. Lodo, he can score from there. Won't this time. London Woodbury's night is over. This is just his 4th start in league play. Started 3 of the Open Cup matches too after an early season injury. And Taylor Washington comes on, former 2nd round pick of Philadelphia, 2016 with the Steel, 2017 in Pittsburgh.
Woodbury getting down into it. As we mentioned, doesn't push up as often as they'd like, but it was a good ball down in, good ball to the back post. Smart to try and knock it back across the 6, get somebody involved in the mixer. There's no trailing run by another Nashville player. Now's the fun time, 60 minutes in, still trailing. You see Gary Smith starting to figure out the pieces of this puzzle, slowly making their way down. You have to wonder if Martin Rennie is going to try and go tit for tat with him, bring in some fresh legs, some substitutions, to kind of counteract his changes.
Indy a 2-goal lead as they try and snap Nashville's 8-match unbeaten streak. It was a 2-1 result in favor of Indy 11. Both goals by Suni Saad for the home side when they met in April. We do see Washington drift out onto the left-hand side. Woodbury seemed to fit more within a back 3, more so than maybe a 4-back line, or perhaps just getting the youth and young legs of Washington to keep with that 3-back look.
Well, as the minutes continue to tick off the clock, you'll see Gary Smith push higher and higher, starting to take a few more challenges and risks.
Melodo got to the byline. This deflects out for a corner. Doyle is 6'4". He's often a target on these, if only to knock it back across. Melodo just got over Bourgeois. Bourgeois lining that up. Braun double teamed. Win off target on the service. Speaking to Gary Smith this week, he said this team playing with so much confidence right now that ultimately they expect to win, that victory always in sight. All 3 instances in which they've matched up with the team for a second time, they've gotten the victory. Now Indy making that quite difficult. If you want to get exclusive video content, photography from across the United Soccer League, gotta follow the league's official Instagram account at USL Soccer.
Gary Smith telling us he hasn't seen anything like it, that will to win at home, and obviously most recently, first North Carolina FC. Mensah coming in very late, scoring another dramatic extra time thriller to give his squad the 1-0 win.
Win, little space to operate. Win the back heel, can Washington get there? He did, and he squares it. Slipped through LaGrassa. James, that was slid out. That ultimately may have been going over the byline on its own.
class by Jose, having a few words with the visitors, letting him know no harm, no foul. But interestingly enough, Jose going to ground in this situation. When the ball gets to the byline, it looks like it's going to go out. Ryan James doing a good job getting to it, but Jose tracking back. Have to wonder if it makes its way across, but another good opportunity for Nashville.
See those guests jump to the ground? Jose trying to hit him with the hind.
Respect that.
He apologized.
It shows you the kind of player that he is.
No kidding. Heckmick gives the whistle. Meloto headed. That'll skip. Out of play, another corner. That went off of Justin Braun. Like Akinyoti, the 6'2" Nigerian who got up there. And now headed, saved off the line. The follow is knocked away. Save of the week nominee. Is that Jose? Wow. Slow motion counter the other way, and everybody catches their breath. Oh, this ball finds its way through. Danger. McInerney played. Skips wide towards Doyle. Boy, Nashville, you get that one, and this whole stadium erupts. Watson dragged down by Wynn.
It was two teasing balls back to back, right into the middle. And the first one, Akinyoti, was already doing battle with Justin Braun. The second one, it's a clever ball to Alan Wynn, makes his way out of it. Nice set piece, something definitely from the training ground as he makes his way to the top of the six and just tries to pick out the back post. Jose, clever on the line, able to clear it off and keep his team in this match, keeping that 2-0 lead. That's good stuff from your left back.
So he really can do it all.
The guy's amazing. I've said off camera, he's definitely one of my favorites in the back. Does a good job.
Venegas. Well, that got clipped on its way through. Played long. Allen's the target. The kind of player can make this moment difficult. To decide by Moses. And a change on the way. And there he is. Always the threat off the bench. Goal in the 90-plus fourth against North Carolina 2 weeks ago. And LaGrassa, we saw him labor a little bit. He really grew into the game those last 15 minutes.
Everybody very appreciative of Matt LaGrassa's efforts, and obviously you can hear the roadies getting involved and Wababa Mensah stepping in. We talked about his ability to make such an impact on the game, but you said it, Matt LaGrassa just had trouble finding his way early on, slowly drifted back into it. Gonna be a little bit disappointed with what went on in the opening first half, but much more of a presence here in the second. This night's gonna be over, but that's it for Gary Smith. The puppeteer has put all his tricks to trade, and now I see exactly what his boys can go do. You've seen them carry much more possession here in the second half. And you've seen the mental thought process getting into the final third. It's been better than better. It's been great. On set pieces, overlapping runs, Alan Wynn getting into it.
There he is, Mensah, chipping it through. Boy, the front three for Nashville right now put them up against anybody in this league, and nearly all three could have played a role here.
You can see the three of them just starting to fire on all cylinders, and you know, we meant you drop something. How about that? Good communication with the boys. Can't see the run coming, just a nice little back heel.
So close on this last corner for Nashville. Header, it's out of play. Bourgeois leaping toward that.
Very similar to ball to what we saw the first time to Akinyoti. Last run around before the ball in to win on the front post. And you can see the Indy 11 starting to get tired. They're laboring a little bit. You can feel the tension starting to build. Nashville can feel it. They're getting closer and closer. Now the response from Martin Rennie, his squad. What's it going to be? Gary Smith has pulled some of his boys off and put the new ones on, and you've seen them make an immediate impact on the game. I mean, you can sense that their goal is just around the corner.
Lost away by Pickens, and here's Allen Wynn. He's been a real shot in the arm in the second half of play. Matriculated out of UNC. Melodo. Now Braun. Faces up all by his lonesome. Knocks that off of Doyle for a corner.
It's going to be one tired set of legs tonight, Justin Braun. He's put in a very long shift, to say the least.
And we were just talking about all the injuries he's had. He hasn't played back-to-back games in a year. We talking with the coaching staff from Indy and said, well, if Ronaldo went a year without playing back-to-back games, you wouldn't judge him based on 2 games. He's not saying that Braun is, but so often time doesn't play a factor, and people forget how important that can be to turning a player around and getting confidence. I feel like Braun has found that confidence. To be fair, it probably came up because Portugal was playing the day we spoke to him, but that's another, that's another thing altogether. Service toward the back post. Mensah, the header that eventually knocks it out with Ouimet, his mark. Mensah, the 20-year-old Ghanaian. Dealt with some injuries last year, but was among the more accomplished strikers by minute in the league. Venegas caught by Pickens. Watson slides. He didn't get there. And now 3 runners pushing forward for Nashville. Wynn holding horizontal. Allows Indy to get back into position. Washington overcooked it.
And Wynn's window of opportunity just closed down, and that kind of goes back to what we talked about in the first half. They've been better here in the second, but you've got numbers. You're playing the 4v3. Streaking run on the back post, could knock one down and let someone run onto it. Or you start to carry inside, let someone come around you. Instead, he just slows and allows Indy 11 to track back. Maybe a little bit more direct from the home squad. Give them an opportunity to challenge these guys a little bit more.
Last touch by McInerney, another corner. Melodo plays short. Reed the return. Knocks it through for Wynn. Melodo touched it last. It's a goal kick. Kara clapping his hands.
Not a bad idea from the boys in blue, and it's smart from Wynn to lay it off. It's good defending, and his touches out front. Just grabs a little nick on the way out.
Change on the way for Indy 11. Justin Braun comes off. Goal in the 35th minute, replaced by Ben Spees.
Well, back-to-back games, Justin Braun. Talked about the rust, but it wasn't that prevalent. Not a lot of opportunity for him in that stifling defense of Nashville, but you could see the long legs and the pace just continuously frustrating Matt Pickens and the home squad. Now Ben Speed's going to step on, trying to continue this run. 15 minutes left for these guys to get the job done. Martin Rennie's just going to continue to try and keep them compact, and we'll probably see them push much as forward as we have recently. Not that they've had a lot of opportunities, but be a little bit more withdrawn in their efforts. Try and stay compact as Nashville continues to make its way down the pitch.
Oh, turnover, Melodo, Allen, there's room over here. He didn't see Wynn, who was making a diving run towards the net. Fawn Williams doesn't have to deal with much danger at all.
And the person for the back line of Indy 11 that's been so active all night long has been Iose. This ball actually just kind of deflects off him a little bit. Brandon Allen has Wynn wide open on the left-hand side, doesn't pick his head up. Second time we've seen that. You get a good look. A little bit of shirt pulling right at the top of the box, but nothing much to write home about. Allen Wynn has to be much louder in that situation. Too much space to work with.
Still a quarter of an hour to go. Nashville as strong as they've been all night, trying to overcome a 2-goal deficit for the first time this year. This is a goal kick. Try telling the roadies that.
I'm not sure I agree with that one.
Well, Venegas doesn't seem to mind.
No defender ever does. It's a good challenge from your back, but
Braun coming out a couple moments ago and making a couple moves among their front line. Largely using Spies as a true number 9. McInerney continues to stay back a bit further. Wynn, advantage played. Reed. Washington. A couple of stagnant runs inside the 18. Wynn, Washington. Washington lining it across. McInerney knocking it off Akinyoti. Doyle, the center back, is pushed up. Trying to flight one off toward the corner. The turn, Melodo. Iose, who saved a potential goal from the goal line, hoping to clear the damage. And a foul by Bourgeois.
Really impressive stuff from Indy 11 there. That would be very easy for one of them to just step up and make a long clearance. Everybody step out and reset themselves, but nice little 3-man game on the left-hand side of the field, trying to make their way out of the back. And Spies gets a knock and able to slow the game down a little bit. Again, just every single movement. Precious seconds, just tick, 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 right off the clock.
This crowd has not left First Tennessee Park tasting defeat in a competitive match yet. 4-0-0 at home. Drew their opener at Nissan Stadium. Keep that all alive. An unbeaten home record. Mensa keeping this ultimately. They'll slip through to Fawn Williams. Ball kicked here into the Nashville bench. Well, that got a couple people a bit steamed on an effort to allow for a breather here. Player down for Indy 11. We Met scored the opener in this affair back in the 16th minute.
We Met just catching something outside of play a little bit. You can see the frustration on his face. He's had a busy night on both sides of the ball.
Penultimate sub set to check in here for Indy 11 is Brad Ring. The last member of the inaugural Indy 11 team, again in 2014. I played as a Hoosier at Indiana, and that's enough for McInerney. Ultimately, it wasn't McInerney that did the damage for Indy 11. It wasn't Sooney Saad either. It's a bit of a shock ultimately, isn't it?
Surprising, but you had to find it from a different area. We said, you know, what were they going to do without Sooney Saad, and the response was absolutely phenomenal. At least so far, 10 minutes left to go in this contest as the issue is still in doubt, but Ayoze getting 2 assists, We Met getting on the board. And then as you mentioned, Braun. Sub by Rottenrenny, just trying to solidify the middle of the field a little bit further. They've pretty much parked the bus here in the second half. Seen a couple streaks, but Matt Watson and company in the middle just slowly making their way around, causing frustration to Nashville. To be fair, it's been much better for Nashville in the second 45 so far, but again, just that last bit of brilliance, and the glimpses that we've seen here and there. We haven't seen them from Mensah or from Brendan Allen or Maloto. Still time left.
We Met waiting to come back onto the field. It looked like he was putting a contact back in. His back was to press level. Meanwhile, a foul back behind. Akinyoti still pointing down. It's Juan Guerra on the ground.
Love to know the conversation going on between Seth Moses and Liam Doyle. Two of those boys having a few words.
A little frustration there from Reed. Ismir Pekmik, he's got to watch, he knows. Those things aren't just for counting steps, you know.
That's great.
Visit the USL's Instagram story every Monday evening. Kelsey Steele's hat trick. She'll break down 3 key talking points from the previous week's action. Only at USL Soccer on Instagram. There's Guerra. All right. There's Reed. And slapped away Akinyoti. Well, okay, I get it now. Makes a little more sense from that angle.
I knew the answer before I saw it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Michael Reed's really not the kind of guy who's one to pick a fight for no reason.
And you could see Akinyoti the entire time his hand got the ball. I mean, there was nothing there. Garrett just trying to bleed it out a little bit.
Wonderful back heel to set up Maloto. James trying to force his way in. Kept alive by Mensah. Reed, this light of fire under Nashville. Washington, 4 runners. Bombed out. Akinyoti.
That's kind of been the night, hasn't it? The domino effect on the offensive side of the ball. Never really much threatening for Fawn Williams. Akinyoti. Oh, my bad to the boys up top. The Rode's letting us know that they're still capable of counting. That's good to know. High spirits in the 84th minute.
You think Ismir Pekmik's checking his watch for that? You know, the Brickyard Battalion existed before Indy 11 was even granted a professional team. The Roadies, among other organizations, supporters groups, there's more than just the Roadies, to be sure. impressive in their own right, both in relative infancy stages of what should be long runs, professional soccer in both towns. Another look at this.
Wangara once again, Akinyoti, just the two of them doing battle. That's soft.
Brought down really well by Moses. Negus, collision. Free kick for Indy 11. Wind charging back.
Referee giving this one to Indy 11, even though the elbow comes up on Alan Wynn, just the recipient of something coming around his body. Good look at Kevin Venegas, Seth Moses. How good has Seth Moses been tonight? Doing a good job holding up speed of play and just giving them the opportunity to continue to push forward.
You want to take over?
Well done on the turn by Spees, but ultimately Nashville up to the task. Well, one that really Pickens couldn't do much about. We met far too open on a corner, nodding a ball in the 16th and in the 35th. A series of errors leading to Indy's second goal.
Now, the first one, you're spot on. The second one, I mean, he's got to do better with that opportunity. Again, Braun does a good job using that speed of his and bodying up a little bit with the back line, but it's a tentative effort to the back post. Matt Pickens gets a hand on it, makes its way off the inside of the woodwork, and such a good goalkeeper. Not one of his best performances back there tonight. He recovered quite well, but unfortunately, offensively, there hasn't really been that spark of response that you've seen from Nashville in the past.
The very beginning, we were told by Gary Smith this was not going to be a game with a lot of goals, not a lot of chances. And if a team can be clinical, it can be the difference. Large in part, that's proven to be the story of the night. Sounds simple. In a similar way, he looked at the Louisville game in the Open Cup and he said goals are the best stat you ever will see, but that they had dominated in the others. Ultimately, they fell to Louisville or through to the quarterfinals of the Open Cup. Tonight, Nashville's done a lot right. Indy still holding on tight. Mensah, what a step over. And now the cross toward Allen, knocked away.
That's exactly the stuff you expect from Nashville. Such a dangerous ball floated in, and it's the 1-2 touch passing, ball in, ball back out, and it's floated to the back post.
Well, there's more now. Wynn trying to spin. Reed. Guerra lost it. Player down for Indy 11. Martin Rennie's pointing in that direction. Nashville doesn't seem overly inclined to slow things down. Everybody back to their feet now.
You can see Fawn Williams not happy with the referee's decision to blow the whistle, but Nashville kind of in a boy who cried wolf situation, not really believing everything coming from Indy 11 right now. Rightfully so. You've seen them 2 or 3 times go to ground very softly, trying to take advantage of the clock. This referee being very kind-hearted in that area.
Now, to be fair, if you're Indy 11, you look forward. This is a team that will play in the USL Game of the Week next Wednesday night. 3 games at home in an 8-day span. They've got a good deal for that Ottawa Fury game at Lucas Oil Field, and then you can just head into downtown Indianapolis and catch the fireworks post-game.
I tell you, though, coming in, we talked about what they needed to do.
Exactly.
And they've done it. This is a statement win for Martin Rennie.
If you look at their season so far, you can't really argue that they've had that many statement victories of late.
And especially because it was so early on. They beat Nashville and they beat Louisville, but that was almost 2 months ago for those two squads. So this is a great thing to propel them to the next level. And as you mentioned, they've got to deal with the Penn FC this weekend. Then they have Ottawa Fury in the game of the week. And then right around the corner, you've got one of the hardest schedules coming up in the USL. Home to the Independents. Then you're going to travel to the Battery, to Al Lang Stadium with Neil Collins and the Tampa Bay Rowdies, to Bethlehem Steel, and then Slugger Field. So for them to have this kind of momentum going into a stretch like that, it's exactly what Martin Rennie wanted.
A yellow card for time wasting, and it appears Indy 11 has run through all the patience. It's Ayoze, who just last week had a yellow card subtracted from his total. So that will not be a yellow card accumulation suspension. It's his 5th yellow card. It only counts as 4 because 1 was subtracted for 5 games of good behavior.
Good behavior.
It's a good 1-game parole.
I needed that when I was playing. Get off on good behavior.
It doesn't help with Reds,
no,
Devin. It
definitely doesn't help.
No.
Forgot about that one.
Yeah. 4 minutes of added time. 1 goal could turn this whole thing on its head. Final change for Indy 11. Zach Steinberger will come on. And that's enough for Juan Guerra, who hasn't endeared himself to much of the Nashville crowd on the night.
And the end of his shift is going to bring a lot of frustration by Nashville and their fans. But I'll tell you what, Guerra did a very good job tonight, holding things down for the midfield and helping out right in front of Nico Matern. Just stayed so compact all night long. Wasn't much ado about nothing for Nashville in the middle for the most part.
Reed, Wynn trying to cut by, sends the service, the header out in front, goes by everybody. The best chance at the back door was Ryan James.
How about this combination play by Nashville? The composure by Wynn. Good floated ball in. Second one to the back post, and Ryan James just mistimes his run a little bit. Fawn Williams out to lunch on this one. You can hear the fans. Yeah, they want a PK in that situation. I thought Fawn Williams came down. Ryan James a little bit.
Don't look now, but Fawn Williams is about 1.5 minutes plus away from a 7th shutout this year. Coming into the night, that would rank 3rd in the USL.
He's going to tie the guy about 110 yards or so away from him, Matt Pickens, who's sitting on 7 as well.
Ayoze clears. An assist and a great goal line clearance. Ayoze tonight, helping to key Indy 11 on the road. If they win, they're 4-1-2 away from Lucas Oil Field. And they very quietly climbed to 4th in the Eastern Conference. Stays with Indy. Crowning jewel moment in the early run of Martin Rennie at the helm for Indy 11. Nashville tonight silenced ultimately, but a couple of outstanding opportunities go begging. Maybe one more at the death. Not for Moses. Make it 3 straight wins for Indy 11. 4 unbeaten. Nashville's 8-match unbeaten streak comes to a close the same way it ultimately started. A loss to Indy 11, bookmarking a run between April and the end of June. Martin Rennie's team go on the road and pick up a phenomenal result away to Nashville. They jump Nashville in the standings, pick up 3 points, 2 first-half goals. They knock off Nashville 2-0 in the game of the week. They'll see each other again down the line shortly. Impressive effort on the road from Indy. Goals by Ouimet and Braun. We'll wrap it up when we come back. How you feel?
Good.
Okay.
It
is 30, right? I'm good.
I want to know, have a conversation with Mike and Brad.
You did or will?
I would like to.
Okay.
Because I don't understand.
Okay.
Not
Is there
closed off,
one,
just
you
don't understand.
want to mention the ESPN2 news?
Yeah.
You just want to hit Indy. Can they keep this going?
No, you have to mention the ESPN too.
Okay.
That's a big one.
All right. That's a big story.
Yeah. we say the USL making the decision?
No, I would just say, the game's been moved.
Went from news to 2, right?
Yeah.
Good. Huh? Oh.
Great win for Indy is what we're hitting.
Yeah, 100%. I'll go with that.
Yeah.
I'll go with that, and then I'll make a small comment about Nashville.
Okay.
And then from there, we go to what?
ESPN. We don't even have highlights. We don't have time.
Okay. So you lead 2 brief comments.
Yep.
Go there. Okay, hit.
And I'll carry it to Game of the Week, and then you'll get a comment in on that, I guess, ESPN2.
Okay.
And then goodbye. Good night.
That's Nippert, right, I think?
Bye, Felicia.
It's at Nippert, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a wonderful win for them.
Massive.
Huge.
Dude, they have 2 games in hand on some people.
Yeah?
I'm going to talk about that, too.
Okay.
Ow.
Do I actually have to toss to it? Yeah, no. It's a rerun. Coming up next, a rerun. All positive, all belief right now for Martin Rennie. Carl Ouimet in the 16th, Justin Braun, his 3rd goal in 2 games in the 35th. And Indy 11 moves into 4th place with their 2-0 win over Nashville in the USL Game of the Week. We welcome you back into our booth alongside Devin Kerr, Mike Watson. Boy, if you're an Indy 11 side that in May struggled, have kind of gotten some players back and are starting to feel a little confident and in form, go on the road to Nashville. This is your biggest win of the year.
Class. We said the staple win that they needed was exactly what they got done tonight. The composure, the chemistry, everything was apparent in their performance. And you have to wonder what's going through Gary Smith. They were stifled. They had no answer for what the visitors brought tonight.
A couple of really good saves from goalkeepers, but ultimately it finishes 2-0. Here's the upcoming Game of the Week schedule. We didn't even mention it. ESPN2 is going to be taking FC Cincinnati and Charlotte Independence from Nippert Stadium. You think a couple of people are going to show up for that?
Oh, absolutely amazing. If you haven't experienced Nippert Stadium yet, get out there. It's one of the best tickets in town, and Mike Jeffries and co. are going to have a rough time going to deal with Alan Koch. And how about Indy 11 continuing their progression? Penn FC this weekend, back at it next week. Ottawa, get it done.
That's going to be game 2 of their 3-game homestand at Lucas Oil Field. Indy 11 taking on Ottawa Fury right here on ESPN News on the 4th of July. Join us before the fireworks for maybe some additional fireworks. The Brickyard Battalion couldn't be more happy than they are headed home right now, knocking off Nashville by a final score of 2-0. We met and brawn the goals. For director Travis Porterfield, producer Ava Ponte, Jose Bueso, Gage Tillotson, and Devin Kerr alongside Mike Watts, saying thanks so much for watching. Indy 11, as big a win as they've gotten in the USL so far. They knock off Nashville. Final score, Indy 11-2, Nashville 0.
This copyrighted telecast of the United Soccer League may not be retransmitted, rebroadcast, or reproduced without the express written consent of the United Soccer League.